We have been reacting to all throughout the course of the show today Brian Gregory's introductory press conference as the new general manager for the Phoenix Suns. We've talked about
the alignment.
Talked about that. We've talked about what he wants in a new head coach. We talked about our overall feeling from this press conference, one of somebody that did not look like they were prepared to be a general manager in the NBA, I think was our main takeaway from what we saw yesterday. But there were some comments that emerged that were somewhat concerning, somewhat alarming about what roster moves may actually be accomplished this summer. Because Brian Gregory was asked about this roster, and he said, quote, "Right now, I think we've got a pretty talented roster," end quote. He added, "What we have not been able to do is create the environment or figure out the combinations that give us the best opportunity for that talented roster to perform even better." How about one more for you before we react? Quote, "There's a baseline and foundation of talent that can put us in a good position moving forward," end quote. Did that sound like somebody who was in a rush to waive Bradley Beal? Did that sound like somebody who's in a rush to trade Kevin Durant, to trade Grayson Allen, to trade Royce O'Neal? Did it sound like somebody who thinks that what this roster needs is a complete makeover? Because that is what this roster needs, right? We all watched the same basketball team last season, right, Brian? We watched a team that did not have grittiness, that did not have toughness, that did not have the defensive intensity, didn't have the things that you talked about this team needing to have moving forward. So you can't run it back with the same roster that you have right now because these guys didn't have those things. These guys,
the alignment,
were not aligned with the identity that you're trying to build. But when I hear that we have a pretty talented roster, do you? And I think the bigger concern than that is, does that mean you like this roster? Does that mean you're comfortable with this roster? Is there a baseline and foundation of talent? Yes. Devin Booker, Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro. That's it. If you are talking about this team and that there's a baseline and a foundation of talent that you think can what? Quote, put us in a good position moving forward. If it's those three guys and those three guys only, we are in lockstep, Brian. You know what? We're not just in lockstep. You know what we are?
the alignment.
We are aligned together if that's what you mean. If you mean those three players, then we are on the same page. But if you mean to tell me that Kevin Durant may not be going anywhere this summer, that you're not going to potentially try to move Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen for picks, that you are not going to have, this roster needs a major overhaul. It needs to look extremely different than last year's version. It cannot look the same. You cannot run it back. But guess what? Those three quotes that I read from yesterday make me concerned that there may be some level of running it back. What we have not been able to do is create the environment or figure out the combinations that give us the best opportunity for that talented roster to perform even better. Does that sound like a guy who's trading Kevin Durant? Does that sound like a guy who's trying to move on from Bradley Beal? Now, hopefully, again, we get to those places and we forget all about this. But that wasn't the feel that I got from that answer yesterday.
I texted you while watching this, like, oh my God, are they not going to move on from this roster? It had the feel of, we're going to run it back, we're going to change the identity, we're going to change the culture under a new head coach, but we love the players we have.
You can't change the identity of your basketball team. You cannot overhaul your culture if you keep the same people around. James Jones, technically, isn't going anywhere. He's a senior advisor. Brian Gregory was a part of this organization the last 2 years, was a consultant 2 years ago. Last year was the VP of player programming. Josh Bartelstein, remaining as the CEO, according to Brian Gregory, is going to continue to be involved in basketball operations. The only thing right now, honestly, the only thing right now you've changed about this team is you got rid of the coach. That's it. It's the only thing you've done. That is the only thing you've done in pursuit of this new alignment, in this new vision, in this new identity, is the only thing you've done. And yesterday, yes, you texted me at one point, and I'll read it from our thread. I don't know what to think. It feels like they left the door open to try and run it back. I got the same feeling yesterday. And I hope I'm wrong about that. Just like I hope I'm wrong about the sentiment that I have coming out of this press conference. I hope that this was just a guy who is still getting used to a brand new role and doesn't really know how to answer questions about what he's looking for in a coach or about his experience, because that was one of his worst answers, defending his lack of experience. And the answer and relying on
The alignment.
and talking about how talented the roster is, right? He had some good answers. I thought his answer about Devin Booker was great. I thought his answer about how he wants to emulate other teams and what they do and how there's a right way to do things. I like that answer quite a bit. So there were things that I liked yesterday. And so maybe it is just a guy who's brand new to this role, who doesn't know how to non-answer what you're doing with Kevin Durant, what you're doing with Bradley Beal, and doesn't know how to say that other than saying
The alignment.
and just talking guys up and saying that you have a talented roster. Maybe he's just not used to having GM speak yet. Okay, that's best case scenario. But you presented us with a vision, with a new general manager, of somebody who's never sat in that chair before. He's never done it. He's never made a trade. He's never overseen an entire draft. He's never gone through a free agency period. And so yesterday was our first chance to not just read about Brian Gregory in a Wikipedia page, but to hear from Brian Gregory, to hear what he is about, to hear what he wants this team to look like. And I don't know if I learned anything yesterday that makes me feel better about this. In fact, there are little breadcrumbs that were left that make me go, are we going to be 6 months down the road and not have the major changes that we were expecting, that we think are required? Or are we going to get 6 months down the road and say, man, we should have picked up on that. We should have picked up on this is a really talented roster. And where we went wrong was just the opportunities that we put in front of them, not the right combinations. But we've got a talented roster. We've got a great foundation here. Was that a breadcrumb that we were supposed to follow? And so that's why I'm bringing it up here today, so that 6 months from now, 3 months from now, we can say, all right, we followed that breadcrumb, it was wrong, or we followed that breadcrumb and we were spot on. But that was my takeaway from yesterday, is that I would have expected, without saying it, that the door of running it back to be slammed shut. And while I think, sitting here today on May 7th, that if you had to ask me, if I had to predict, I do think that that door is closed. I do not think they are going to run it back. But I cannot tell you, after hearing what I heard yesterday, that that door isn't at least slightly open. That door is not closed and locked. Certainly not closed and locked after what I heard yesterday. That door remains open. And until they close it, that should be a concern that all of us have. We should be concerned that they left that door open yesterday. We should be concerned that Brian Gregory kind of just echoed a lot of the stuff that Matt Ishbia was already talking about and just sounded like he was you used the term placeholder, but just figurehead for Matt Ishbia. That he is just a spokesperson for Matt Ishbia, and Matt is really the one pulling all the strings, making all of the decisions, and this is just going to be what he wants this team to look like this offseason. Didn't shy away from Josh Bartelstein being involved. Didn't shy away from Matt Ishbia being involved. Talked about how the reason why he is here, one of the reasons why he is here, and he is not shying away from it, is I have a relationship with Matt Ishbia. So hopefully, now that this press conference is in the rearview mirror, Brian Gregory can follow through on building that alignment. He can follow through on finding that head coach. He said it's his main focus, did not put a timetable on it, said he was casting a wide net. All good things, all things I can get on board with. There is no rush. Make sure you get the best candidate. Cast a wide net. Talk to everybody, even if it's somebody that you're not sure about. Sit down with that person. Pick their brain. See what they think about the Phoenix Suns. He gave you qualities that he's looking for. An unbelievable basketball IQ. A tremendous communicator. These are his words and phrases, not mine. Shared vision. And he said that not just the ability to say to Matt Ishbia and to Brian Gregory the things that they have been saying in their press conference, that you have a proven track record of doing the things that align with this vision. And he added in the ability to hold the players accountable. If they check all of those boxes and who they get as their next head coach, then I'm going to be excited about who they get as their next head coach. They are going to, at least in their first test, their first actionable item here, they are going to show us that they can do the right things, that they can set the right course. Again, yesterday was about words. Yesterday is not going to make or break Brian Gregory's ability to succeed in this role. But it was just a not great first impression for a guy who, let's face it, everybody was already uneasy about. Everybody already judged the book just based on the cover. And yesterday reinforced that judgment that people were passing. And so you can change it. You can make people say, my first impression was this, but I was wrong. You can get to that point. You have to nail the head coaching hire. You have to get this right in the summer, and you have to have a roster that looks different enough. If you run back a very similar roster, if there aren't major changes, nobody is going to believe that the culture changed. Nobody is going to believe that the identity changed. Nobody is going to believe that this team is actually different from the team they were a year ago. So uninspiring, I think, is a fair word to use to describe it. An uninspiring press conference yesterday. Now we'll see if the actions can change our opinion, because the words certainly didn't yesterday.